This story comes to us from justice.gov out of Boston. It's another one, guys. It's another one. We just did one on this a couple days ago, but it was a different officer. A former Boston police officer has been charged and has agreed to plead guilty in connection with, guess what, an ongoing investigation of overtime fraud at the Boston Police Department's evidence warehouse. Anyway, Thomas Nee, 64, of Quincy, agreed to plead guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds and one count of embezzlement from an agency receiving federal funds. A plea hearing has not yet been scheduled. Embezzlement is not a crime to mess with. According to charging documents from at least January 2015 through February of 2019, 4 years, Nee submitted false and fraudulent overtime slips for overtime hours that he did not work at the evidence warehouse. The purge overtime was a 4 to 8 p.m. weekday shift intended to dispose of old, unneeded evidence. Kiosk overtime involved driving to each police district in Boston one Saturday a month to collect old prescription drugs to be burned. For the purge shift, Nee claimed to have worked from 4 to 8 p.m., but he and allegedly other members of the unit routinely left at 6 p.m. or earlier. For the kiosk shift, Nee submitted overtime slips claiming to have worked 8.5 hours, when in fact he and allegedly other members of the unit only worked 3 to 4 hours of those shifts. As a result, between January 2015 and August 2017, Nee personally collected approximately $16,642 for overtime hours he did not work. Now, Nee, listen to this one, is the 15th Boston police officer to have been charged in connection with committing overtime fraud at the Boston Police Department's evidence warehouse. That's a place to work, right? 9 of the charged officers have pleaded guilty. From 2015 through 2019, Boston Police Department received annual benefits from the U.S. Department of Transportation and U.S. Department of Justice in excess of $10,000, which were funded pursuant to numerous federal grants. Now, the charge of embezzlement from an agency receiving federal funds provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000 or twice the gross gain or loss. The charge of conspiracy provides for a sentence of up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000. Sentences are imposed by a federal district court judge based upon the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. They'll get maybe a year in jail and then the supervisory probation. Now, the last couple of paragraphs, they have, first of all, who's prosecuting the case. There's some names with some big departments behind them, like Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General of the Washington Field Office. Okay, but they tell you who's prosecuting the case with the long names and the details contained in charging documents, that they're only allegations at this time, and these guys are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. But we know that they're not. I mean, okay, everybody's presumed innocent until found guilty in a, court of law. But when you got the FBI involved, when you got the Justice Department involved, when you got the Attorney General involved, when you got special agents from, this and that involved, these guys are guilty of something. Because they're cops. And all these people aren't just going to get involved. If there was really nothing there, if they were innocent, they'd be like, you know what? Get the Sheriff's Department to investigate, or the Attorney General, or something like that. But all these people being involved, this is a federal case that, and maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I'll end up with crow or egg on my face. Or a crow's egg. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up, but I don't think so. I think this guy's guilty of some of this. Anyway, here's another 15th Boston police officer. And we just did another one where the guy, I don't remember what department he was in. He wasn't in Boston. Remember the one I just did earlier in the week? He wasn't from Boston. He was from some other city, and he was the one that was saying he was at work, but he was actually out of his jurisdiction, sitting home and stuff. So these guys are collecting your tax dollars